everyone, Hungry Reader here. Hey, thanks for coming back. It's 2015 now, so it's about time that I did my 2014 year in review, 2015 preview, and how I spent my winter vacation. Last you saw of me was the last of the Not a Creature Was Stirring videos, the one that came out belatedly for Christmas Eve. And in that one, I hinted that I was going to do one for Christmas, which I had really planned to, but I hit a snag that hadn't come up with any book previous, and hopefully isn't going to happen since. I didn't like the book that I'd read. Yeah, I know, me not liking a book, I was stunned too. The book I planned to do was Redwall. I wanted to do a book that was a real epic, to really finish it off with a bang, but I just couldn't get into Redwall. I apologize to all the Redwall fans out there, but there were a lot of things that made it kind of inappropriate for my show. Number one was that there was barely any illustrations. I was really toying with the idea of, did you see all the mice that I had growing up on my... Did you see all the mice that were on my shelf? I was going to actually act it out with them, having them... Like, what was that show on Kablam? You know, the one with the talking action figures. You'll know what I'm talking about. So as I bought more and more mice, and I was making this more and more grand in my head, I read more and more of the book, and I was just like, And, you know, the less I liked it, the more I was like, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this justice for people who do like it. You know, I stated to myself very early on when I was beginning this project, I'm not the angry reader. I'm the hungry reader. And I don't do things where I tear things up and yell, random nonsensical chains of fecal expressions. So I decided to leave Redwall with its dignity and just end it like an actual advent calendar. I'm sorry for everyone who was looking forward to Redwall, especially my friend John, who he specifically requested Redwall. Sorry, John. Apart from flubbing up the end like that, I think that the Not a Creature Was Stirring project was a huge success, because it was really an experiment in doing more frequent but shorter form things. This is something that several of my friends and watchers, including my dad, actually said that the show needs to be shorter. So, well, that's okay, you know? Get more shows out, get more views. And as this experiment proved, they were all right. On YouTube, people are not looking for gourmet cuisine. They're not looking for something you slaved over for hours and hours. No, you gotta feed the beast. So with that in mind, I'm going to make these shorter form things like Not a Creature Was Stirring a much more regular thing. As a matter of fact, I'd like to have about 3 or 4 per month, as well as a longer form video at the end of the month. That's what I'm planning this month. Let's see how well it works out. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the year 2014. The original Hungry Reader episode, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, launched on April 2nd, 2013. In the year 2013, I got a total of 600 hits. Not super great, I know. The year 2014 had 3 more months worth of videos, but their total views in 2014 were 2,400. Literally quadrupled my viewing space. So everyone who's new, who discovered me in 2014, thank you. I really hope you like my show, and I'm glad you come back. And everyone who's just stumbling over this, check out the rest of my show, okay? Please. Not only that, but remember those 600 hits I got in 2013? I got 600 hits in December alone, thanks to Not a Creature Was Stirring. So yeah, I know what side my bread is buttered on. So that was my year up until Christmas. Had a really great Christmas. I want to shout out to my mom, because my mom really went the extra mile, and she got me a copy of Final Cut Pro for Christmas. You know, how awesome is that? You know, I've been doing this show on iMovie since the beginning, although I've done it on 2 different versions of iMovie. In 2013, I was actually doing it on iMovie for the iPad, which is why, you know, some of the transitions looked really kind of garbled. And then I moved to iMovie on the Mac. I got a Mac Mini, and that's made my show look a lot better, I think. But now let's see what happens in the future. So anyway, from Christmas to about the present day, I've basically been on vacation. I've been doing a little bit of prep work for The Hungry Reader. For one thing, I'm actually working on an all-new animated opening credit sequence. Now, I've complained in the past about other video reviewers like me who have these super long, super indulgent opening credits that, they take 3 or 4 minutes just to list, I made all this myself. So I'm not going to do this. My new opening credits aren't going to be any longer than my regular ones. It's just going to be the same few bars of the Maple Leaf Rag. Yeah, about that, like that. I've also been getting some practice in with Final Cut Pro, of course, so I'm ready to... This is actually going to be my first video that I edited with Final Cut Pro. Let's see how well it works out. But mostly, for the months of January and February, I've been pretty much taking a vacation from The Hungry Reader to catch up with my other hobby that I spend way more money than I should on, considering how much time I spend on it, and that's video games. Now, I don't talk about video games much on my show because, well, books, man. But I am a big Nintendo fan. I am a hardcore Nintendo fan. So I spent January and probably am going to spend another month, maybe July or August, catching up with Nintendo's latest thing. Now, thing is, I spent this month pretty much focused almost entirely on indie games. I have a whole bunch of games direct from Nintendo that I bought and haven't actually played yet, like Bayonetta 1 and 2, and, what was that? Oh, the Wonderful 101. I mean, that's a really great game, but I've barely played anything of it. Pikmin 3, and the only Nintendo game that I really got into this month was, of course, Smash Brothers. So, oh, by the way, here's my friend code. But I spent January catching up with indie games, so here, let's lay out some of my favorite games from this month. The highest profile game I played this month was definitely Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Like anybody who had a Nintendo Entertainment System, I love the whole Mario mythos, so I was really glad to see Toad finally get his own game. Although, I don't know, maybe it's not his own game. I've never really been sure if Captain Toad is the Toad. Because back in the 80s, we all had this idea that there was Mario and Luigi and the princess, and there was this one of her mushroom retainers who was like her personal assistant, whose name was Toad, and he was always with her. And then around the time in 2001, when Paper Mario came out, suddenly everyone in the Mushroom Kingdom race was called a Toad, which always made me wonder, was there ever one Toad? Was it always just some random guy? They're like, hey, you, come with us on an adventure. Yeah, okay. Anyway, Captain Toad, for those of you who haven't yet played Super Mario 3D World, is a big collection of three-dimensional mazes. They're not very long, they're not very big, but they are very deep and intricate. Captain Toad includes elements of many previous games. It has the turnips from Super Mario 2, it has stealth elements, which I think are new to the Mario series, it has swinging hammers like Donkey Kong and minecarts like Donkey Kong Country, but more than anything, what it kind of reminds me of is Adventures of Lolo. And for those of you who didn't know, one of the guys who programmed Adventures of Lolo for the Nintendo is now the president of Nintendo. So, Iwata-san, bring us a new Lolo game! Other than that, there were a whole bunch of indie sales going on the two Nintendo eShops, and also there was the end of the Deluxe Digital program, which, if you missed out on it, well, I won't tell you, it would just make you sad. But I ended up buying a whole bunch of games in order to save money on games, if you can believe that. I got an adorable but short little game called Ika-chan from the creator of Cave Story. Ika-chan is a game where you're a little squid, I think. You actually sort of dress up like a squid, and you're rescuing these adorable little sea urchins, or maybe sea anemones. And there's this storyline where you're trying to get a rocket off of your dying ocean planet, I think. But it was very much maze-like fun in the Cave Story tradition, so I recommend this one. I also picked up Stick It to the Man. Now, Stick It to the Man is an adventure game. And I'm not really that big on adventure games. You know, I've run into a lot of people who are all, oh my god, Secret of Monkey Island changed my life, oh! You know, they react like it was Earthbound or something, but, you know, adventure games just aren't my thing. Although I did really like last year's A Wolf Among Us. Although I'm a huge Fables fan anyway, so, But I had a lot of fun with Stick It to the Man. It helped that the gameplay itself wasn't just point and click. You did move your character around, and there were, again, stealth missions. I don't know why this keeps popping up in these cute little games. But Stick It to the Man is about a really average schlub who wakes up with a strange, gooey, psychic antenna protruding from his head that allows him to read people's thoughts and also pluck their thoughts out of their heads and into reality. It's really weird and also really funny, which I later learned was because it was actually written by Ryan North, the Dinosaur Comics guy. I didn't even know that when I bought it. I would have bought it first thing if I'd known that. And then we got Teslagrad. Teslagrad is a physics platformer. That means that it's all about getting things to move the way you want them to using some fairly limited physics mechanics. With Teslagrad, the big thing is electromagnets. You have the ability to repel or attract things depending on which glove you're using. Teslagrad is a lot of fun, and it has a really beautiful art style and a nice understated storyline that is never really spoken out loud for the most part. But it was really, really hard, especially when I got to the bosses. The bosses are so difficult. I didn't even get past the second one with the big eye. Well, I'll have to come back to that one later. Then we got Unepic. Unepic is kind of a side-scrolling action RPG. It kind of reminded me of Zelda 2. Unepic is very deep and very detailed, but it has a few issues. I don't know if they're bugs, they might just be kind of bad design decisions, but it is way too easy in Unepic to accidentally fast-forward through something really crucial, an important dialogue or whatever, that can leave you having no idea, say, who this mysterious shadow you're suddenly talking to is. That was what happened to me. And this shadow is like the most important character in the game. Thomas Was Alone. This one is fairly well known on Steam and so forth. It's a game in which a group of newly sapient artificial intelligences are making their way out of their contained environment. All they are is different colored rectangles, but you have to move them all together in various different ways and really use each one of their abilities to the fullest. What's really interesting about Thomas Was Alone is that it's fully voice acted, even though they're just rectangles. It's not just voice acted, it's narrated. It sort of reminded me of Kid Icarus Uprising, the way Pitt and Palutena would banter back and forth, but instead it was narrated by somebody I always imagined A.A. Milne must have sounded like. Then we've got SteamWorld Dig, which, I thought it would only be for Steam, but no, it was on the Wii U. And SteamWorld Dig is a game in which a society of Western cowboy robots are diving deeper and deeper into a mine to discover the secrets of a lost civilization. SteamWorld Dig is really awesome. I can't really think of much to complain about it, apart from that it was a little short and I wish there was more. But, that's the best way to make a video game at this point. I mean, one of my complaints about Teslagrad was that I couldn't finish it, so it's nice to have a game that leaves you wanting more. So, more SteamWorld. And on that note, Nintendo released a demo for a game that hasn't come out yet called Codename Steam. What is this with all this Steam stuff? Now, Codename Steam is a game that was made for me and me alone. It basically contains everything I've ever loved, except for maybe origami and pizza buffets. In this scene, you are literally teaming up with John Henry and Tom Sawyer and the Cowardly Lion and Tiger Lily from Peter Pan, and you are fighting the Martians who fight in tripods, Lovecraftian monsters, and something that I think might be the three-eyed blue alien that was The Thing. Oh, but there's one thing that's really weird that I have to point out. I mentioned this on Twitter. Here's another character you get to play later on. He has a pumpkin head. He throws pumpkin bombs. Jack Pumpkinhead, right? No, it's the Scarecrow. What? Finally, we've come to the game that has absorbed the most of my time in January and has also absorbed the most of my rage. But it's the game that I want the most to love of all time. Citizens of Earth. In Citizens of Earth, you play as the vice president of the world itself, and you wake up on your first day of vacation to discover that the entire world has gone berserk. A Starbucks nearby you has blasted off into outer space, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So what you have to do is recruit 40 different citizens. Pretty much, there's no NPC that you can talk to besides the president that you can't recruit to become part of your party. Citizens of Earth is funny as hell. It has great voice acting, great graphics, great character design, great play control. But it's so buggy. So I beat up all these kids and now they're not going to hurt me? And that is just one example of the kind of completely random freezes you get with this game. Citizens of Earth has real problems that is really astonishing didn't get noticed before it was released. And I really want them to release a patch soon, because I love this game, or I want to love this game. It's hard when it just, when it does that all the time. In addition to that, I've also been rooting through all my old games to get Club Nintendo codes. Gonna miss you, Club Nintendo. You were a lot of fun. So that's why 2015 has not been very productive for me so far. But that's gonna change. Allow me to share with you a few of my plans for this year. Number one, I'm going to get thehungryreader.com relaunched and ready for your perusal. See, I used to have a blog called The Hungry Reader. I actually started it in 2008, and it petered out in 2009, but I've been hanging on to it all these years. But right now, thehungryreader.com redirects to my YouTube page, but I have a whole website plan that is going to feature my videos and a whole lot more. So for the, if there's anyone out there who can't get enough of me, let me know, all right? Because I got a website for you coming up. The truth is, I was actually planning these whole Hungry Reader videos even as far back as 2008. I was really inspired by the Angry Video Game Nerd, so I wanted to figure out a way to do it with books, and it took me 5 years, so that just shows how quick I am to jump on these bandwagons. Speaking of bandwagons, though, Patreon. It's gonna happen. And I hope you're ready because I have a lot of great ideas planned for the Patreon. One of which, I feel that if you're going to be donating to somebody, it's nice to just say, hey, here's some money, keep doing what you do. But I really want to be able to repay people for it and feel like they've put their fingerprint on the work that they helped make. So, well, watch this space and you'll find out. And then there's the actual videos I have planned. Now, let me show you a little bit of my plans for what I was going to do in 2014. In January of 2014, I wrote a list of all the things that I wanted to do and when I wanted to do them, what week, and let's have a look at some of the things that did get used from the list. The Phantom Toll Booth, planned for February 2nd. That one happened in March. March 16th, Ozma of Oz. Happened in May. May 18th, Teenage Unauthorized Ninja Turtles. That one ended up happening in August, but that's okay because the movie was shunted to August too, so no harm, no foul. October 15th, Dorothy and the Wizard in Oz. Never happened. I feel really bad they only got one Oz video done, but at least I made up for it with Thanksgiving in Oz, kinda. That was a big hit. So a lot of the things I have planned for 2015 are things I didn't get around to in 2014. I don't want to reveal too much, but some that I'm really looking forward to doing include Garfield Gets Weird, Monster Mix-Up, Every Bear That Ever There Was, and Stone Soup featuring The Medieval Play. And for any other video producers watching this video, I'm really interested in doing some crossovers this year. I think it'd be a great way to sponge off, share your views. So thanks for listening, thanks for sticking around, and see you in 2015 for more Hungry Reader. Hope you're hungry!